Now take a look at this. It is a vaccine appointment questionnaire. It says, if you are not black, indigenous, or a person of color, you have to wait to get an appointment. Jason Rantz is with us. This is your story. I want you to take us all the way through.
So the Washington State Department of Health effectively allows providers to deny white people access to vaccines and their appointments, at least, in a race-exclusionary process. Now, the DOH is arguing that people of color suffer health care inequities and that racism is a stressor that leads to a less healthy life, which puts minority communities at an increased risk of dealing with COVID consequences. And so one example is what you just showed. The African American Reach and Teach Health Ministry, it's a nonprofit that's based out of Renton, Washington, not far from Seattle. They're a provider that denies white people the ability to sign up for some of the many open spots online that they have available right now. And what that means is a 70-year-old white cancer survivor who has diabetes, so two comorbidities that puts them at an increased risk of death if they were to get COVID, they are told no for an open vaccine appointment, and someone who is, say, a 24-year-old healthy, fit African American or Latino, they would be told, yes, you can in fact come in. That obviously is not about equity. That is about making a white person who is clearly at an increased risk of death from COVID, put at a disadvantage.
I would imagine that there would be some outrage expressed at this locally. Has there been any outrage expressed?
No, they're defending it. DOH won't directly even tell me whether or not this is illegal. They can't even tell me in a statement. Many times I've asked them, is this even legal? They just won't answer that question. And from the nonprofit's perspective, they're saying, hey, look, we were told that we have to get into communities of color and make sure that they're getting the shot. And this is the way that they're doing it. But the fact of the matter is, there are ways to get into communities of color in a way that is not race exclusionary. And here's the kicker for me, at least. I reached out to Seattle, the city of Seattle, to see how they do it. They don't even do it this way. They even think this goes too far. And that's saying something, because normally this is something that we would expect out of the city of Seattle, and they're rejecting this approach. And they're right to reject this approach. This is called racism. You can't tell me that this is about equity and opening barriers when you're literally creating them for people on the basis of skin color.
Yes.
That's wrong.
But you realize, Jason, if you were to say that, if you were to criticize this particular questionnaire, you would be called a racist, and that is the end of the argument, because you can't count on that.
I have been, Stuart. Yeah, believe me, I've been called that as a result of this story. It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is. And we thank you very much for sharing it with us. Jason Rantz, that's an original piece of reporting. Good stuff, young man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to change the subject.